Wolverine died in 1995, but the war didn't. His adamantium bones refused to stay still. No brain. No heart. No healing factor. Yet something primal kept those bones moving. Soldiers swore they saw a metal skeleton stalking the trenches. Bullets bounced off hollow ribs that should not walk. Every battlefield echoed with claws that had no flesh. Death took Logan's body, but the war kept his bones. Wolverine didn't die the way legends are supposed to die. There was no final roar, no triumphant last stand, no poetic sunset. He fell in silence, swallowed by the roar of a forgotten battlefield in 1995, a mission so classified that even the men who authorized it later pretended it never existed. One moment he was sprinting through smoke, claws drawn and healing factor burning like wildfire. The next, a blast ripped through the earth and swallowed him whole. When the smoke cleared, what remained wasn't a man, just a twisted, charred adamantium shell lying motionless in a crater. Everyone assumed that was the end of Logan. How could it not be? His healing factor had burned out years earlier, leaving him vulnerable, slower, mortal. The explosion finished what old age had started. A Black Ops recovery team lifted what was left of him, heavy, metallic, grotesquely intact, and sealed him inside a titanium coffin meant for things the world wasn't supposed to know about. They didn't dare bury him. They didn't dare cremate him. They locked him away underground in a vault colder than any winter he'd survived. For 3 months, nothing happened. Cameras gathered dust. Guards relaxed. Files were buried deeper under codes and redacted lines. Logan was gone. History moved on. Then the scratching began. At first, it was soft. Almost imagined. A faint metallic scrape that came at irregular hours. The night shift guard blamed rats. The engineers blamed old pipes. No one dared open the vault to check. They had all heard legends of Wolverine's claws, and legends have a funny way of surviving long after the man doesn't. The noises grew louder. Cameras inside the vault began to glitch. One moment they showed a still metal skeleton lying peacefully, the next, static filled the screen. When the feed returned, the body had shifted. Slightly. Barely. Enough for denial to feel comfortable, until it happened again, and again, and again. Finally, one night, the coffin door buckled outward. Not enough to open, just enough to bend. Enough to show pressure from the inside. Enough for every guard on duty to question every paycheck they'd ever received. Orders came down immediately: move the body, reinforce the vault, double security. But by the time the team arrived, the coffin was empty. The vault was torn apart from the inside. Deep claw marks carved through walls built to withstand bombs. Footprints made of metal, not boots, not shoes, but bone, led through a shattered exit panel. Those prints burned themselves into every soldier's nightmares. They looked like something human and not human at the same time. Like something walking because it refused to stay dead. Military search teams combed the underground facility and found nothing. No body, no tracks, no heat signatures. Just silence, fear, and the stench of a secret unraveling. Wolverine was dead. But something wearing his bones had started moving again. And the world would soon learn that adamantium doesn't rest. It remembers. It hunts. And it never stops fighting. Soldiers talked first. They always do. Not on record, not in reports, they whispered the way people whisper about ghosts. In Bosnia, a patrol insisted they saw something crawling out of a blown-out bunker. Not a man. Not an animal. A shape made of metal, hunched forward like it was sniffing the air it no longer needed. They fired warning shots, but the thing didn't flinch. It just turned its skull, empty sockets staring with nothing behind them, and then it was gone, sprinting into the night with claws that sparked against concrete. Command called it battlefield stress. Local rumors. A trick of the dark. But then another squad, hundreds of miles away, reported something strikingly similar. A metallic figure ripping open a weapons cache in the dead of night, scattering guns and ammo like it was disgusted by them. The creature didn't attack soldiers unless they attacked first. It moved with purpose, not rage, like a wolf without fur, following instincts older than memory. The strangest part was the way it moved. Not stiff like a machine, not clumsy like a skeleton should be. It had rhythm. Fluidity. Like the echo of a fighter who had spent a lifetime in combat. Every step seemed to recall how flesh once stretched over muscle, how joints bent smoothly instead of grinding metal on metal. It was instinct wearing a dead man's suit. War zones became hunting grounds. In Chechnya, tank operators swore they saw a metal shadow climb over a burning vehicle, claws carving sparks as it moved horizontally across steel. In Rwanda, refugees spoke of a skeleton that dragged armed militia into the forest one by one. No gunshot ever followed. No body was ever found. Just claw marks. Always claw marks. Governments panicked quietly. Intelligence agencies began cross-referencing sightings. Every blurry photo, every trembling eyewitness account, every radio transmission that ended in static because someone suddenly stopped talking. The pattern was impossible to ignore. The shape was the same. The signature was the same. Adamantium. Logan's skeleton. The world's most unkillable metal had become a phantom no country could control. And the more they tried to track it, the worse the sightings became. Footage surfaced from a helmet cam, grainy, distorted, but unmistakable. A soldier fires at something charging through smoke. Bullets bounce. The skeleton lunges, claws slicing the gun clean in half. No roar. No face. Just a silent nightmare that disarms the soldier and vanishes into darkness before the man can scream. Some claimed it was a government experiment gone rogue. Others insisted it was a curse. A few whispered that Wolverine's spirit still clung to the metal, refusing to lie down while war still consumed the world he once protected. But the truth was simpler. And far more terrifying. Every war, every conflict, every explosion, it was drawn to them. Like instinct. Like memory. Like something remembering the only thing it was ever good at, fighting. And as the world quietly descended into more chaos, one thing became painfully clear. The skeleton wasn't roaming. It was hunting. Scientists were the last people to believe in ghosts. But when enough soldiers described the same impossible skeleton, metal claws, humanoid shape, silent movement, they were forced to face a truth the world had no language for. A covert team of mutant researchers was pulled out of retirement, flown into a hidden Arctic base, and locked inside a room where the last scans of Wolverine's body were displayed like a crime scene no one wanted to solve. Adamantium was supposed to be dead metal. Cold. Inert. Eternal but lifeless. Yet the readings didn't match that at all. The scans taken 3 months after Logan's death showed faint energy rippling through the metal. Not electricity. Not robotics. Something older. Something feral. Something that pulsed like an instinct without a heartbeat. Wolverine's mutant signature. It was impossible. His healing factor was gone. His organs had long since failed. His mind had died with him. But something had stayed behind, imprinted inside the unbreakable metal like an echo trapped in a cage. Not consciousness. Not thought. Just raw instinct fused into adamantium. His skeleton hadn't come back to life. It had never fully died. The revelation didn't stay contained. War analysts noticed a pattern: the metal creature never protected nations, never chose sides. It always went for weapons, for aggressors, for threats. It reacted like a living memory of Logan's final years, when he was tired of war, tired of blood, tired of watching innocents die while he kept getting back up. Whatever remained inside the adamantium remembered that hate. And it had sharpened into purpose. The scientists theorized something wild: Wolverine's mind had faded, but the body he lived in for over a century had stored fragments of instinct. His muscle memory wasn't in flesh anymore, it was in metal. How to fight. How to track. How to kill. How to protect. Every slash, every charge, every strike the skeleton made, wasn't random. It was a ghost of Logan's past movements replaying themselves in a loop that had no end. An evolution no mutation had ever shown before. Metal that remembered life. The discovery terrified everyone. If a dead mutant's instinct could survive inside adamantium, then Wolverine wasn't the only one who might leave behind a legacy too powerful to contain. The governments wanted to capture the skeleton. Scientists wanted to study it. Militaries wanted to weaponize it, imagining metal soldiers powered not by consciousness, but by instinct alone. But every attempt to corner the creature failed. Every trap it escaped. Every ambush ended in shredded steel and silent footsteps walking away. They sent helicopters. They sent drones. They deployed tranquilizers strong enough to drop elephants. Nothing worked. The skeleton didn't fear. It didn't rest. It didn't negotiate. It only reacted. And the more they tried to chase it, the more it seemed to evolve. Its movements grew faster, sharper, more deliberate. Like it was remembering more with every fight. Like the echo inside the adamantium was waking up, piece by piece. The scientists finally admitted the truth no one wanted to hear. This wasn't a creature. It was a memory with claws. And memories, especially Logan's, don't die quietly. They come back swinging. War erupted the way it always does, loud mouths in quiet rooms making decisions that strangers would die for. A border dispute spiraled into a full-scale conflict, tanks rolling, cities trembling, skies choking on smoke. Every news channel played the same footage: fire, chaos, soldiers running, civilians crying. But hidden between those flames was something the cameras kept catching by accident. A blur. A spark. A shadow moving where no human could possibly be. It started with a tank platoon advancing through a destroyed village. The commander shouted orders, unaware that something was sprinting beside the tanks, faster than their cameras, faster than their targeting systems. A soldier finally caught it in the corner of his eye, a skeletal figure racing across rubble with metal claws scraping sparks in its wake. Before anyone could react, the skeleton leaped, landing on the turret with a thud that rattled every bolt. The tank crew panicked, firing blindly, but bullets ricocheted harmlessly off unbreakable bone. Then the claws sank into the steel like it was butter. The tank hissed, cracked, and collapsed as the metal tore through armor plating. Smoke poured out. The skeleton dropped silently from the wreck, tilting its head as if sniffing for more threats. Soldiers opened fire. It dashed between bullets, moving with terrifying precision, every dodge, every strike a perfect echo of Wolverine in his prime. Guns shattered. Blades snapped. The skeleton never killed a single soldier, it only destroyed their weapons, ripping them apart piece by piece. But when heavy artillery began firing, everything changed. Explosions tore through buildings. Civilians screamed. And that was when the skeleton truly woke. Something inside the adamantium reacted, an old instinct to protect, to shield the innocent, to throw itself into danger regardless of cost. It shot through smoke like a missile, slamming into artillery cannons, shredding their barrels, tearing wheels from their mounts. Soldiers fled at the mere sound of claws dragging across concrete. One drone captured footage that would later dominate the internet, a massive explosion engulfing a city block, and from within the fire, the skeleton stepping out, glowing red-hot from heat, claws extended, the metal itself warping from the intensity. It should have melted. It should have cracked. It didn't. It kept walking. It kept fighting. And the world saw it. Millions watched that clip in shock, in awe, in fear. Governments scrambled to explain it, but every lie fell apart under evidence. Reporters found claw marks carved into tank armor. Civilians described a metal guardian pulling children from collapsing buildings. Soldiers swore a silent shadow disarmed them and vanished without harm. The legend was no longer a rumor. It had gone viral, unstoppable, undeniable. And the more conflict that erupted, the more the skeleton appeared, almost like it sensed every gunshot, every threat, every weapon lifted in violence. It didn't pick sides. It didn't care about flags. It only hunted war itself. Every battlefield had a new rule whispered by terrified soldiers. If you hear metal scraping in the smoke, drop your weapon. Because something older than memory, sharper than steel, and angrier than any soldier was coming. And it remembered exactly how to fight. You. When the war finally burned itself out, there were no victory speeches. No cheering crowds. Just exhausted survivors and weapon-scarred cities trying to remember what peace used to feel like. The cameras turned off, the soldiers withdrew, and the world exhaled for the first time in months. But beneath the rubble, in the cracks between ruined streets, one presence still lingered, a silent shadow of metal, waiting for something no human fully understood. The skeleton didn't vanish after the final explosion. It lingered on the outskirts of battlefields, moving with a strange calm. No more charging. No more tearing tanks apart. It walked slowly now, like something searching for a place it had forgotten. Soldiers spotted it standing on a hill overlooking the ruins, claws retracted, head tilted slightly, as if trying to remember what it once meant to be alive. The governments should have chased it. Scientists should have begged to study it. Militaries should have attempted one last capture. But the world was too tired, too afraid, too broken to poke the sleeping monster. No one dared to touch it. Not after everything it had done. Not after the way it had torn through an entire war like a storm wearing bones. So the skeleton simply wandered. Across fields that once burned with conflict. Through forests regrowing over mass graves. Across bridges rebuilding themselves after years of destruction. People recorded shaky videos, grainy clips of a metal figure walking quietly in the distance, never approaching, never attacking. Some claimed it protected travelers from bandits. Others swore it pulled survivors from collapsed buildings during aftershocks. Most dismissed these as rumors. But survivors know the truth of the things that walk in the dark. Weeks later, the skeleton arrived at a place long forgotten by most of the world, an abandoned military facility, half swallowed by rust and moss. The same vault where Logan's body had once been kept. The same place he had broken out from. The doors hung open like a wound. The floors were still scarred by claw marks from months earlier. The skeleton stepped inside. It moved slowly, almost reverently, following the echo of memories it didn't fully have. It reached the center of the chamber, the exact spot where Wolverine's final remains had lain before they awakened. Then, for the first time since its resurrection, the skeleton finally stopped. No movement. No twitch. No sound. It simply knelt. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was muscle memory carved into metal from a lifetime of pain. Maybe it was a ghost of Logan whispering inside the adamantium. But something deep within the skeleton understood this was where the fight ended. Not on a battlefield. Not in a blaze of glory. Here, in silence. It lowered its claws into the ground like a warrior laying down its weapons for the last time. Days passed. The metal grew cold. The world outside healed inch by inch. And deep underground, the skeleton stayed motionless, like a guardian asleep, like a relic waiting for an age that may never come. Some say it shut down forever. Others whisper it's only dormant, listening for the next war. Because as long as humanity keeps fighting, somewhere in the shadows, adamantium will remember. And it will rise again. You.